All right. I think we are live, Cassie. It says we're live.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, if anybody is joining us live, oh, we have 10 people here. So we do have people joining us live. My name is Catherine Taylor, and I work with Feisty Media full time. I help create a lot of our programs, do a lot of their sales and marketing, and I also run our cycling brand. But today we are here to talk about our new strength product. And it's really fun for me to have Cassie Neiman joining us because, Cassie, we actually go way back in
Way
the
back.
strength training world. We were in a boot camp in Atlanta, Georgia together.
Yep, yep.
So
And we were
we were
just
just members,
members of the boot camp. And then
members.
eventually we coached the boot camp together.
We coached the boot camp. And then you actually, okay, so Stacy, who was the lead trainer at the boot camp,
Mhm.
at one point, I kept getting injured, and she said, "I think you should start trying this strength training thing." And Cassie is going to start doing strength training on Sundays, which ironically, you also started because of some injuries that you were happening. So tell us your journey into strength training, because you haven't always been a coach. You haven't always like really lifted heavy shit the way you do now. So I think it's really interesting for people to know your background when they're thinking about this program.
Well, I definitely come to like sports and kind of movement in probably a different way than most people because I was a gymnast as a child. So I was like in a competitive sport since I was like 6. Um, So I do feel like there is some difference there in that like my total upbringing was like revolving around what my body could do. Um, but of course, at some point you stop being a gymnast, and that was like 15 for me. And then I ran track and I started rowing in college. Um, but there was a time where I was in my 20s and I wasn't doing anything at all. And a friend of ours, Yelena, if you remember, was like doing this boot camp. And I was like, but what are you training for? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, but why are you doing it? And she was like, for life, like to be strong and healthy. And I was like, what? It like didn't occur to me that you just worked out like as a daily activity. Um, and so then I joined, and that was the boot camp that I met you at. And that really just like set me on this trajectory of training and fitting it into my life. And at some point, I dabbled in CrossFit, and um, I'm very competitive, clearly. And I was doing CrossFit competitions, and I did end up getting injured. And because of that injury, I couldn't do anything at all. And it was at that time where I asked another friend of ours to help me get stronger again. And she was doing strength training in this way that I do it now, which is heavier, kind of 4, 5 big main movements. Um, and I started training with her, and I was able to kind of recover from my injury. And then that's generally what set me on this trajectory. But it was really funny because I never lived this life where you just train to exist and like be healthy. But it now it's my literal career, which is crazy. But even during all that time where I was in the boot camp and or before the boot camp, I was coaching rowing at Georgia Tech and other places. So that kind of set me on this like coaching journey. And it wasn't until like 2016, which is about when we were starting to coach those boot camps and such, that I left a career as an architect and became a coach full time. And so it's 2026 now. So I guess I can say it's been 10 years.
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I was kind of the opposite. I was still doing a lot of triathlon and cycling. Like I've always done competition on the side, but I found because it's I loved that high intensity from the boot camp, and we used kettlebells, kind of like a dumbbell type thing. We didn't use barbells. It wasn't some like a CrossFit gym in that way. But then I found once I started lifting heavy, I could actually balance the two. Like I was like, I could never like do the boot camp and actually do triathlon at the
Mm-hmm.
same time because it was so much training and I would be so sore from one to the other or too
Totally.
tired with having a job and a life. But then when I started lifting heavy, I started to find, oh, I can actually blend these things together and I'm having less injury. I feel stronger. I'm actually able to get away with a little bit less training on things like running and cycling because I have like that muscular endurance from just just being strong. So yeah, we kind of, I think, diverged in paths on
Mhm.
that, but see the value of it from different sides of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing is like I want to be able to carry my groceries and, you know, uh,
Live. Just train
live
for life.
and not have to like call somebody and ask them to help me move something like, for the rest of my life. So the
Yeah.
older I get, the more important it gets. So well, that's a little bit of Cassie's backstory and how we met each other. And then when we were starting our strong course that some folks maybe have taken, I was like, oh, I got the coach for us. Because I just knew that Cassie is very comfortable in front of the camera. And so she helped us create that and then helped us create our first strength retreat that we did at her gym in November. And we've got
Mhm.
another one that we're going to be announcing pretty soon in Atlanta in the spring. And then we were like, you know what? We just see this gap for women specifically wanting good barbell training or very barbell curious and how to like bridge that gap from maybe an app or what I'm getting at like what we were getting at a boot camp we loved to this like different style of lifting heavy. And so could we create something online? You have a barbell club that you've been doing at your gym for a long time, but could we create something similar? So before we jump into that, like people have asked us, is this a dumbbell program? And we're like, well, it's really a barbell program. So let's talk about why barbell. Cassie, why are we doing a barbell program?
Well, I mean, there's many different routes we could take here, but I think the one that I want to highlight the most is because we can, right? Because we want to. And I think a lot of people are coming to this um, desire to strength train because they're hearing about it in media from lots of different places. And I think there are many ways to strength train. There's so many ways to get strong. There's so many ways to train. And if there were one perfect magic bullet, like we'd all be doing it. And that would be the thing that works for everybody. But it's not the case. The thing that makes me want to share the barbell with people is because it often feels like something we can't do, right? That's something that's off limits. It's not for me. Um, it's it's too far away. And what we want to do here is bring that closer to everyone because we can, because we want to, but also because the barbell can be really efficient in helping you get strong. So again, you can get strong using any implement, your body weight, dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, cable machines, those TV things on the wall with the
Tunnel.
strings that come out of it. But I like the barbell because it is really straightforward. And by straightforward and simple, I don't mean easy and super intuitive, right? It can still be really complex in that way, but it is really good at doing the thing we wanted to do, which is getting us stronger. And there aren't as many routes for someone to get strong with the barbell in a way that makes them feel comfortable and willing to mess up and learn all the details and kind of get all that stuff and do it with a community. So providing this is giving you the opportunity to get strong with a barbell if that's what you want to do, right? It's not like you must use a barbell or else you're going to be frail and fall
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's what encouraged us to do that. When we built the strong program previously, we had lots of entry points, right? Body weight, dumbbell, barbell, and with the idea that we could get to the barbell point. But it also felt like people were just still kind of resisting, but they wanted to get there, right? It was this, I want to get there. I'm just not, I'm still scared, right? And maybe not scared is the right word, but so what we said was let's just make it barbell. Like if this is
Yeah.
what people want to do, let's lean in and do it because why not?
Yeah. And I feel like there are a lot of apps and resources that are pretty good that are dumbbell friendly or body weight friendly, but it's harder to find good barbell programming and especially where you can get a feedback loop, which I think is really helpful when you're moving a barbell. And I'll say, like, some of the reasons I really like doing barbell work is, as somebody that does other sports, it's so much more efficient for me, and I'm so much less sore than when I'm doing a high volume, which I need at this point in my strength training to get the same stimulus or stress on my body to get stronger. Because I'm not strength training necessarily just to support my cycling. I'm strength training to support, like, I want to be strong and I want to do cycling events, but I don't think one has to sacrifice the other necessarily, because I'm not trying to podium at something. I'm trying to do my cycling events because they're fun, but I also really want to be strong because that's also really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I mean, there really are, I think it's almost the opposite in that I actually think there are a ridiculous amount of apps and ways that you could do barbell strength training. And I would say they're probably all generally very good. The programming is all going to make you stronger. It's just a matter of you doing it, right?
yeah,
And like getting started doing it. And so sometimes it's like we're saying the same things and guiding you in the same way. It's just coming out of our mouths. It's coming out of this community. It's in a place that makes you feel welcome, right? Um, and when there is so much out there, because we have so much access to everything, we can just ask ChatGPT to make us up a program if we wanted to, right? It's like, how do I weed through that? And so that's what we're
yeah,
doing. We're like, here it is. Here you
yeah.
go. Would you like it? And would you like to do it with a bunch of other people? So
Yeah. Well, and I think that leads to another piece of this. And I will say, I'm kind of pulling from questions that have come in, but if anybody that's watching has a question, you can put it in the chat and we will get to those questions. And we'll go over a little bit of what the programming is going to look like as well. But I think for anything we do in Feisty, like, we don't want to just be like, here's what to do. We want to really get to, like, two different pieces of that: the why behind what you're doing and an understanding of what you're doing, so you feel really empowered in your own gym and your own body and what you're and the choices you're making and adapting things for how your body is feeling that day. And we also want to understand the culture that we operate in. Like, I've been going to gyms for 30 years, and sometimes when I walk into a new gym, I still feel intimidated even though I know what I'm doing because it's still a very dude heavy scene, especially when you're around the heavyweights sometimes. And so, I think, like, that, like, knowing that I know what I'm doing actually gives me a lot of confidence when I go into the gym to kind of I was at a gym in Florida last year, and this guy, I was on the lifting platform, and this guy was, like, doing something on his, machine behind me, but then he would get off and he would literally stand, like, right behind me, and I was doing snatches. Like, this is a terrible idea. So I finally had to say, "I'm sorry, but this is a really bad idea for you to stand right behind me right now. Like, this is a heavy weight that's going over my head. The reason there's a platform here is because if I drop it, then it's going to bounce off the platform." So,
yeah, not off your head.
not off your
Right.
head, which
Not off your
no,
head,
because you
man.
were literally standing inches from me. Um, so yeah, so and I know that's really important to you, Cassie, is for people to feel like it's not just here's what to do, but here's all the teaching behind it.
Yeah. It's all comes down to you are going to get stronger by doing the thing that you keep doing, right? And a lot of times we keep doing the thing because we understand why we're doing it. Sometimes we think we want someone to just tell us what to do in that kind of like dictator way, no excuses, just do the thing, suck it up. But that only lasts so long. And so, kind of creating this autonomy and agency in your training allows you to do it for longer. And so, giving you the guidance of why the programming looks the way it does, why are we doing these exercises? What is it helping? What could it, how is it changing what I do in my daily life? That can be helpful. And I also think part of it is talking about the way that we move and the way our body kind of organizes itself under a load. We can really easily land in this place like, you need to do it this way, right? And that's what keeps a lot of people from doing anything, is they're afraid they're going to do it wrong. And so sometimes we need someone to be like, It's doesn't need to be perfect. Everybody's going to move in a different way, and none of these things are inherently dangerous. But here's also a way that you could begin to do this movement, right? And I think sometimes we need a little entry point, but we also need someone to say, if it doesn't look exactly like that, that's still okay, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of those variables in there. And I think you can get the structure from a program online, from AI, whatever, right? From any sort of app. Um, but sometimes having just a little bit of that guidance can take you a lot further.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna add the program. We have a sample week so people can see. And why don't you talk us through what like workouts look like and what a sample week would look like, and then maybe even like how long do you think this would take somebody to do in the gym? And I can ask you some questions or see if questions come in as you're looking at this. So, and
Yeah.
then let me know if you need me to move it over
Okay.
in the view.
So basically, a kind of optimal amount of training would be 3 days a week because you can get a good rest day in between each one. It just fits well into the way we've structured our calendar as a society, right? It doesn't mean you have to train 3 days a week. It doesn't mean you have to train every other day. You can put them back to back. All those things are fine. People train 4, 5, 6 days a week, so they're going to train back to back. Some people are going to train 1, 2 times a week. I would say if you're just beginning strength training, 3 times a week is optimal. 2 times a week, still good. 1 time a week, if you're just beginning, your body's like, I kind of forgot what we were doing. So the way that this program is structured is there are 3 days. The third day can be optional if necessary. So we're kind of hitting the top three or the top four or the main four movements in day one and day two. And as you can see here, that would be the squat and the bench, and then the deadlift and the press. And um, there's many variants of those, right? If you're like, I can't press overhead, and I certainly can't press a 45-pound bar over my head, right? There are alternatives built into this. Um, and then there will be accessories that get added around that. The third day, if Catherine, you want to scroll over just real quick, just so we can
Yep.
glance at that. But the third day would just be kind of additional variants on those main movements. And there's different rep schemes there. Okay, you can scroll back.
Okay.
So that if you look at just one day, right? If we just look at day one, you can see on the very left side, it says number of sets. So we're looking at 7 total sets of squats, right? So a lot of times you'll see a program and you'll see, okay, they want me to do 3 sets at this intensity. And that's what I'm supposed to do. Usually that would mean 3 sets in addition to all the warm up it took to get to there. So if you don't really have the background and the understanding if that's what you want to do, you might not know. And you might only do those 3 sets and you might jump right to whatever weight that is. And so what I've tried to do here is set up a protocol for you so you understand, nope, I actually want you to start with an empty barbell or even less than an empty barbell if we can't lift that at all, or a much smaller barbell or dumbbells or whatever it is. And we're going to warm up to the work weights that we want to do for the day. And in this case right here, it's just a set of 4 at an RPE 6, a set of 4 at an RPE 7, and a set of 4 at an RPE 8. If you don't know what any of those words mean, then those are things that we're going to teach you inside the program. So those are the work of the day for that exercise. But there's work that's done on the way up. And the accumulation of all that work is what makes us stronger. So the program is set up to give you that background, to also, once you start inputting in some numbers here, it's going to start populating some things as suggestions. And they're just gentle suggestions. And they can always be changed. But the idea is just to help you understand, well, how much weight should I add to the bar? How much should I expect to see it change week to week, right? These things are kind of given to you, but also, again, as we're different people, we all come in different, we had a different day, we're in different bodies, we've got different environments. So it's not always going to be exactly as it's kind of laid out, but it does just help you frame it. And And so you would do those 7 sets for the squat, and there's 7 sets for the squat because it's the first thing we're doing, and there's only 6 for the bench press because it's the second thing we're doing. So you're already a little warm. But the process is kind of the same there. And then we get into these 2 accessories at the end. And in week 1, there's only 2. In week 2 and on, there might be more like 3. Those might not need as much warm up because they're working one kind of muscle group and we're doing a higher rep. And so you're just working over the 3 reps to find the weight that you need. Um, you may have warm up sets in there, but it's not as structured. And these exercises at the end are probably not going to take you very long. You'll probably do a set. Let's say if you're doing these single leg glute bridge, right? You probably do 10 on your right leg, 10 on your left leg, 10 on your right leg, 10 on your left leg. And honestly, single leg glute bridges, you're not really going to make them all that much harder. You're not really going to be adding weight to those. So they're probably just going to get slightly harder because it's the next set you're doing, right? And again, that's why I don't even have any suggested weight because it might just be body weight. So if you think about timing, right? The amount of time it's going to take you to get through these warm-up sets that are at the top of the squats, let's say, right? You're going to do the empty bar twice, and then you're going to add a little weight. The amount of time you'd rest there is probably the amount of time it would take you to load the weight on the bar for the next set. So maybe a minute, right? Maybe a little more if you're doing math in your head and you got to get out the calculator, right? And then when you get up to those work sets, the 6, 7, 8, maybe you rest a minute between them, right? Maybe as the weeks go by, you rest a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Maybe by the time you get to the end of the 12-week program, you're resting maybe up to like 3 minutes. You could rest 10 minutes if you wanted to, but that's going to make your workout really long. And so maybe the weight would change and you'd still reach the amount of difficulty we want just because you rested less, right? So I would say overall, you should be able to get through something like the squat in, I don't know, 15 to 25 minutes, depending on how hard it is. I usually like to say each of these workouts are going to take you about an hour. Now, they may take you a little longer because you're learning. Maybe you go watch the video again. They may not take you that long because you're cruising through it, right? And maybe you don't need all these warm-ups because the weight you're going to isn't as high. So it could be less. So anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes. If it's taking you longer than 90 minutes to get through any of the workouts in this program through the whole 12 weeks, then I probably, and you don't like it, then I would tell you, we probably got to lighten the load a little bit so you can rest less, right?
Or
But if
you're
you
like
like
me and you're
it,
just chit-chatting at the gym in between every set for like 10
exactly.
minutes.
Yes, I structure my Barbell Club classes in person for 90 minutes solely so my clients can talk to each other because community is that important to me that I build in time that they can just chit chat for like 20 minutes and then they're like, oh, I should probably do my set, right? But I also, because some people like to be at the gym and that's what they like. And some people want to get in and out and they do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the structure of the way this works. If you want to scroll all the way over, Catherine, I can show them
Yep.
hit. So in addition, to the 3 days of strength training, we're also going to provide some very general, vague, low intensity protocol, which is basically do it. So we're just thinking, zone 2 or even, 1, 2, just anywhere on that spectrum from 75 to 150 minutes a week is really kind of the basic general guidelines for the human population. 75 minutes would be if you can include these HIIT options in that 75 minutes. If you're, just going on long walks and hikes and things like that, maybe it's more in that 150 minutes over the week. But you can break it up into small chunk of 5 minutes. And then we'll have 3 to 4 HIIT options. And so those could be, like it says, some sort of body weight option, a dumbbell option, or just straight up cardio option. And, the best thing you can do when you're just getting started is chill out. Okay. So if you haven't been sprinting on the road, don't go sprinting on the road, but maybe you could do just some easy repeats. and build up over the weeks, just like you're building up in the strength training. But the idea is that we're kind of providing all those things together, and so that you have this kind of full comprehensive program. How's that
Perfect.
sound?
That's great. Thank you for
Okay.
explaining that. Okay, we did have a question. Is this the document we get? I'm assuming, like, are there videos to follow within the
Yeah.
document?
Yeah. So you will get the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet is editable, and you can modify it for your own specific thing. So if you are like, I don't want to do glute bridges ever, I hate them, you can pick it and change it to a different option, and it'll auto populate your own spreadsheet to that thing. And for every option that you choose, there will be a video of that exercise so you know how to do it. So you will get the document, and we'll give it to you in the 4-week chunks. And then you will get videos for all the exercises, and we'll also make videos in between. So we'll probably have a video in the beginning, how the program works, how to actually use the spreadsheet program itself. And then each week we'll try and provide things like, your deadlift might be getting a little heavy. Here's a few cues that might help you along the way as you're progressing in weight, right? So cues along the way that either I'm seeing common issues, right? If I'm seeing a ton of form videos, and I don't even want to call it form videos. If I'm seeing a ton of videos come in of people doing their deadlifts, and everybody's starting their reps with bent arms, and then they're jerking the bar off the ground, I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to make myself a video for all of you about how we can pull the slack out of the bar, pull the slack out of our bodies, and how that's going to make us all feel way better on our deadlifts. So we're going to try and give you cues along the way that are going to help everybody and you specifically.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about videos, because that's a big part of this program, is the opportunity to get video feedback on your lifts, which some people find intimidating. They don't like filming themselves, but it's going to be all within a private community. Only the people within the community are going to see it. And one of the reasons we do that is because even if you're like, I don't feel comfortable, you can learn so much from watching other people's coaching cues. And so everybody will have the chance to upload a video a week to get feedback from Cassie on how you're moving, which that is one of the best ways to get better at lifting, is to have a coach have eyes on you and learn and just see, like, just like she said, little tiny things that maybe you don't know you're doing.
Yeah. And it's not about doing it perfectly or right or wrong, right? There's no like red and green line. It's about moving efficiently and efficiently for your body. And so, I tell all my online clients when they start that it's really easy to like over analyze once we start videoing ourselves, right? It's really easy to, critique our bodies, our legging choice, our camera placement, right? And then the lift itself, and really start to like pick apart at all the little things that you're doing wrong, right? Our goal when we look at these video reviews is going to be, what's one big thing that we could tweak that's going to ripple affect everything else. And so, yeah, you're going to feel weird posting a video of yourself doing something that you're like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. But the idea is that we get stronger together. Your maybe somewhat crappy feeling overhead press is going to make someone else feel better, right? And maybe likely post theirs too. And it just kind of helps everybody along. So it's certainly a personal self journey, but I invite you all to try it.
Yeah. And I will say, like, for myself personally, because we started lifting, we talked about 2016, I think. And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years ago, I was working with a coach locally, and like they just gave me a deadlift cue, and it was like it clicked, and I started to hit numbers that I never thought I would be able to hit, because something clicked in the way to move the bar and the deadlift. And I haven't had an injury or any kind of issue with my deadlift since
Yeah.
kind of like picking that up. And so they're simple moves, and also there's like little pieces to learn to always get better. And even the best lifters in the world are working on technique all the time.
Yeah.
So why
And
shouldn't you?
it's, yeah, and it's not, again, because it's it's going to get, you're going to get hurt, right? It's again this idea of efficiency, and when we're moving efficient and we're using a load that our body is prepared for, right? That we've adapted to, then it should be tolerable and we can move it. And it's just, we might be able to move a little more load if we're moving it in a more efficient way, and we can get stronger.
Great. And then we have had quite a number of people that say, I've had a shoulder issue in the past, I've had an injury, um, I don't have great knees. Can I squat? Or like maybe somebody's told them you shouldn't be squatting because your knees are old or whatever it is, or, like you've had a knee replacement, whatever the thing is that somebody tells you that maybe does or doesn't understand good lifting. So, how do you work with people that have like an injury or limitation or something like that, Cassie?
Well, first of all, this will be like a group, program and like a group effort. So, there's always going to be like special circumstances. And so we'll try and deal with them as best we can in the group way. But inside the program, we've built lots of alternatives. Uh, for instance, something like squats. If you're like, well, I can't squat to my hips below, parallel. Well, we can use a box. We can squat to a box to a point where you are capable of squatting, and we start there, and and then we can add a little weight over the weeks, and then maybe at the end of the fourth week we've added a little weight. Maybe we lower the box a little and we drop the weight back down, and then we load it back up, right? So there's always ways that we can kind of create an alternative. Things like shoulders, overhead pressing. Some people don't like it at all. We can simply do landmines where we're pressing in a different angle. You're pressing straight ahead, so we're not getting as much flexion. You can even do lateral landmines. There's lots of different ways where, if you're in a space that only has a 45-pound barbell and you can't press that overhead, we can't overhead press with a barbell anyways, right? So then we got to use dumbbells or some other way to kind of get that overhead or that kind of vertical pressing movement. So we tried to build in as many alternatives as possible. Certainly, there will be things that we have not prepared for, but we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah. Okay, well, the last thing I wanted to ask you about, and if anybody else has questions, go ahead and pop them in. We'll wrap up on this is a progressive program, but we're not working to a rep max. We're not working to our competition or anything like that. We have said this is really a program that somebody can come in as a very beginner, but it's probably not for somebody that's like, I really want to go PR my lifts at a competition. That's more of an individual coach thing. So, um, talk a little bit about like just like what does it mean that it's a progressive program, and why don't we work to one rep maxes?
I mean, I train almost all my clients to one rep maxes at some point. Um, and, you know, that's totally fine. I think in this case, we're trying to capture an audience that might not already be training. So we need a little on ramp to get to that point. But also, training doesn't need to be done at that high intensity all the time, right? One rep max situations are usually kind of special, one time, one week out of a long block or an event kind of thing. So we're always kind of working underneath that like max intensity range of work. And what we will do is we will increase the intensity and reduce the reps. Like some of you doing this program might have never done just 2 reps at a time, right? At a certain intensity. And you might lift the most weight you've ever lifted in your life, right? And so essentially, it's like a 2 rep max. It's like you just PR'd, but you're nowhere near your like max effort. And so that can be really exciting too. Um, so it is a progressive program in that the idea is that we're increasing the stress so that your body continues to want to adapt and get stronger. And we're playing with rep ranges, we're playing with the way that the program is written so that you can walk away going, okay, I understand how this program is written. It's almost like we're teaching you how to, I am not a musician, I should give the disclaimer, but we're teaching you to read music so you could go play other things, right? It's that idea of like, we're trying to teach you the language so that you can feel empowered to go find the thing that works for you. Um, and also giving you the opportunity to train in a way that you might have been a little afraid or uncertain to do before, right? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
And within that, as we were talking about the programming yesterday, like it's built, you have a build and then you'll have a deload week because often in those weeks and some people that have done maybe endurance training will understand that in those weeks where we have some of that deload and a little bit of recovery is where your body actually gets stronger.
Mhm.
So it is built in a training plan in that way progressively where there's blocks and you have a deload week at the end of each block.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And, deloads, some people need them, some people don't, so in a group situation, we're kind of making assumptions. But oftentimes it works out either way. So, um, but yeah, the idea is that you'll walk away with a lot more knowledge of what you're capable of and also what options you might have out there after.
perfect. Well, if you are interested in joining the program, you just go to feisty.co strong-club or just feisty.co. You'll see it. There's a yellow bar at the top. There's a code strong 2026 to save $50. The program does kick off on Monday. So you will get an email on Monday with all of the information with your guide. And then we will have our kickoff call next Wednesday with Cassie. And we'll do a monthly coaching call with Cassie where we will answer questions. We'll dive into the programming. If she sees any things that come up, we will address those as a group. And then every week you would have the opportunity to upload your videos and then time where she would come in and do feedback on those videos, which are really great. I did a Olympic lifting program where they had that, and I got intimidated and I never uploaded my videos, but I did learn a lot from seeing people's feedback on other videos. So I read everybody's comments. Um, and then you'll also, if you join, you can come join us live in Atlanta and get a little discount to come to that as well. So we would love to see you inside the program. We have found it's not just the training, but having a community of women to train with is often really fun. We have a winter training for cyclists program going on right now, and it's just been really fun. People have like got a recipe group going. They've got like a group of people from different states. They're planning to go to events together. So I think like having that community and the accountability and a program that somebody knows you're following can be really helpful. And yeah, it's fun to see what can happen in 12 weeks of focusing on strength.
Yeah.
Anything you want to leave us with, Cassie?
I just think, it's again, I always stress you don't have to use a barbell, but you should also not feel like it's not for you, right? Like you can. If you're curious and you want to try it, try it.
Yeah.
You might actually just fall in love with it.
Yeah. You do kind of feel like a badass when you use it.
Honestly, it's the best side effect of it. And I own a gym that, I bought. It was established and it was an established black iron hardcore lifting gym. And the amount of people that come in and just you can see the intimidation on their faces, you know, and and then within, a month they're like, this is my place, these are my people, this is my vibe. And it's it's an empowering thing to do. The minute you touch that barbell. And it's almost because it does feel off limits at first, right? It does feel scary. It does feel, am I supposed to do that? What if I do it wrong? Is everybody looking at me? Am I going to get hurt? But then you do it and you realize, oh, I can do this, right? And then you're like, well, I'm a badass,
I know. And
right?
then the next
So
thing you know, you're like asking some dude to get out of the way so you can do your lift. Or you're asking him if you can get the 45s from him.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you have any questions, you can reach out to us, your friends at livefeisty.com, and we will get those answers to you if there's something we didn't cover tonight. But we will look forward to seeing many of you inside the program. And thanks for making time tonight, Cassie.
Yeah, thanks. I look forward to seeing everybody lift.